Happy Sunday!
Happy Sunday!
I'm happy to be back up here 2 Sundays in 1 month. I'm surprised. But I'm grateful to be here to serve. And when we think about community, what comes to mind? The community is like 2 or more people who are joined together, gathered together for a common purpose. Now, Jesus says in Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, that where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Now, when we come here together and tap into that Christ light that is within us, that's where we're at. That's what that Bible verse says to me. That's my interpretation of it. We were gathered here as our spiritual community. We're touching that Christ light that is within us and that's within everyone here and everywhere in the world. Now, as many of you know, I went to the Ricky Byers Spring Revival this year and last year. And so it was a great time. It was during, Palm Sunday weekend, that weekend. So it was a great experience. When I reflect back on it, what really jumped out to me was the sense of community that we have, when we go to the retreats and as well as, here. And so when I think about, going last year, it was a really different experience for me last year because I was coming out of a really bad relationship. And so that time I took for healing. When I went to the retreat the first time, it was like a healing time. I went by myself. I had a babysitter for the kids. So that was a time of healing. This one was more of a time of community for me. And I brought my children with me this time. I didn't intend to, but I was trying to invite my twin sister to come with me because I didn't want to go alone this time. I wanted to share with somebody. And she was like, she couldn't go because she needed to give her daughter medicine at a certain time and she didn't trust anybody else to do it. So she was like, I want to come. I want to get out of town, but I want to bring my daughter with me and I'll watch the kids for you. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So now the kids can have, that experience of going to Lake Junaluska, seeing the mountains for the first time up close because they've never seen, the mountains like that. So driving up there, we saw mountains and the kids were so excited. They're like, wow, look, it's mountains. So I'm so glad that I took them to it. But yes, this time I felt that community. And I'm going to talk about it a little in my message today about, what we experienced there. Now, the kids were just there for like the meals. My sister watched them in the room and they would walk around while we were actually doing the sessions for the retreat. And so the people in the retreat got to experience the children, during meals. So it was so cool to see everybody interact with them. But Chloe, she's one of those type of people that will go up to a stranger and say, "Hi, my name's Chloe," and give them a hug. So she did that while we were there, and it was just beautiful to see, everybody receiving the children so well. And it was just a beautiful and amazing experience. Now, Unity Minister Reverend Felicia Blanco Cersei has a book titled "Do Greater Things, Following in Jesus' Footsteps." And she has a chapter devoted entirely to community. And she talks about how Jesus was fully engaged in his community. He had to be fully engaged in that community in order to help people heal themselves, help people realize that the Christ is within them and that they have the power, to heal themselves, to have a better experience in their lives. And she goes on to say that, having a authentic community doesn't come easy. It doesn't come naturally because our lives are so full of activities and distractions, that we consciously have to make time for our relationships and that we're taught to be independent, but we long for connection and we're often afraid to connect. And I know just looking back on my life, for so many years, I was afraid to connect. I was always a shy person, an introvert, always sticking to myself, not really, thinking that I needed a community. So before I discovered Unity, I didn't think that I was ever going to be a part of a church. I was like, I have my books, I like to read. I'm fine, but I wasn't fine. I had that longing for a community. And so when I first came in here, for the first day, I just felt that connection, and I was like, oh, this is my spiritual home. And I'm just so grateful that God led me here. And, for a time, I had some tragedies happen in my life, and I stepped away from the church for almost 3 years. And again, I had that mindset of, I don't need church. I'm spiritual but not religious. What do I need to come to church for? I can just get it from home. And so, but then I got the letter from here saying, your membership, you're no longer a member here because you haven't been here. And I just felt so sad. I was like, no. So I started feeling, that inkling of coming back. During that time, I was raising my son. My parents were gone, so I was raising my son, without my parents being here. And it was a struggle. But, when he started getting older, I was like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to Unity. And so I did. I came back, and I was received with loving, open arms. And I'm just so grateful for everyone that welcomed me back. And I've been back ever since then. So I'm so grateful to be back. And so, I was thinking, that I didn't need church, but, I longed for it. I longed for it. And, Reverend Mark Hicks, Unity minister, he said in his book, Credo of the Metaphysical Christian, that a religious community is necessary for the spiritual but not religious. And I believe that. It's necessary for me. I prefer to be here in the physical, being able to communicate with people, and being online and watching online is nice, but it's not the same as being in person. Even with music, we didn't have music here for a long time, and we would have to watch it on there, but having live music is just beautiful, and I just love it. And that's the same with going to the Ricky Byers retreat. I watch her devotionals almost every Sunday, and it's not the same. It's not the same as being there in person. So I'm so grateful that we have the retreats to go to and be able to connect with our larger community. Jesus showed us that, when we connect with others, Reverend Felicia says, we connect with God. Unity, living in a community gives us an opportunity to apply what we learn in our daily lives. During the Ricky Byers retreat, we did many different activities. One of the activities I loved is she passed out these postcards. And these are her original artwork. So she passed these out. And one of the first activities that we did was on the first night, the theme was love. And so she passed out these love you cards, and we had to do an activity. We had to get into groups of 2, and she played a song that we had to sing to each other. So I partnered with Jennifer for the first time, and the song that we sang goes, I love myself so much that I can love you so much, and you can love you so much, and you can start loving me. So we had to sing that to each other, and then we had to swap our postcards and read what the person wrote. And we did that a second time. So I partnered with somebody I met at the retreat before and did the same thing, sang the song, swap the postcard and read it. And then we did it the third time. Now, the third time I connected with somebody I never met before. So that was, difficult for me to do, but it was great. And she was from Atlanta. So it was nice to, connect with other people. And the community there was just very diverse, just like here, we're so diverse here. It was also very diverse there. So that was like one of my favorite activities that we did while we were at the retreat. And like I said, she passed these out. Like each session that we had, she passed it out. Like this one was Genesis, in the beginning. And then this one was about, she inspired me. She was talking about a woman who had inspired her. And then Harmonize Our Destinies based on the song that she has called Walk, Walk, Walk. So it was a beautiful experience. And I just wanted to share a little bit of it with you all. All right, community is about caring for another. The daily word for tomorrow, April 28th, is caring, which, is certainly is related to a community. We all care about each other. We're all here, for a common goal. We care for one another. And the affirmation is, I am caring and kind. Now, every time I see kind, I think about, there was a meme on Facebook that said there's a difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice, you don't have boundaries. You let people walk all over you. And I've been nice for many years in my life. And then you have kind. You don't forget about your boundaries and being kind, So I always think about that when I see the word kind. And the daily word goes on to say, the impulse to care, to feel moved, to reach out to another with kindness and compassion is a wonderful way to bring the love of God to life. During the retreat, Ricky had mentioned that they were able to, people who probably wouldn't have been able to afford to come were able to come because of donations from others. And I thought that was so beautiful that they got to experience this because it was an amazing experience. So that's that kindness, the compassion to care for others. And the daily word goes on to say, I may never know the ripple effects of my caring acts. And I don't need to. It is enough to know I am receiving blessings as I share them. I also don't worry about how my kindness and caring will be repaid. I give, love, and serve with no thought of reciprocation because I understand the caring I receive from others is coming from God. We're all God's children. Christ in me loves the Christ in you. And there is unity in diversity. I appreciate being in this diverse community. And I think Ricky said something about, because there was a lot of diversity there, she said something about, it's like the Mennonites, they accept everyone. The daily word goes on to say, I feel closer to God each time I extend myself in the service of another. My understanding of myself as a spiritual being deepens each time I share God's grace and goodness. This is how the world is healed. One kind, caring act at a time. When we're focusing on spiritual community, that can go out beyond the walls of the church. If we're acting from that place of Christ within us, no matter where we're at, work, community, our family, every time we're connecting to that, we are in a spiritual community. I think about, my work, my past work, I was a leader. So I'm still hearing from people who, worked under me, asking me for, to be a reference for them or even just to talk because they said that I, was always a positive presence in their lives while they were, working under me. And it's a blessing to be able to experience that, to have that experience with others and being able to show myself, showing that I love everyone no matter who they are. And, when we work together as a community, we help bring world peace into the world. And that goes on to the daily word for April 30th, Wednesday, which is world peace. When we care for others, when we're in our community, we are bringing about world peace, our sense of it. And so the affirmation for that one was, I help create a world of peace. And it says, a simple image comes to mind when contemplating peace. That of the easy harmony in a world where friendship and love define everyday life. The world's people may not always agree. Even Jesus' disciples argued. The Apostle Paul got into squabbles everywhere he went. The solution? Respect differences. Celebrate the diversity of humanity and learn to respond instead of react. Many of us here, we have our different beliefs. We may believe in God differently. We may have political differences. It could be anything, but we have to remember to respect ourselves and others and celebrate our differences. The daily word goes on to say, if family and friends can make up, so can neighbors and nations. Unity minister Thomas Shepard in his book, The Many Faces of Prayer, says, we do not need to agree on theology to get along. We do need to disagree agreeably, which is a basic ingredient for peace in a pluralistic world. I recently applied and received my passport, and in the mail. And this spring break, I applied passports for the kids as well. So hopefully they'll be coming in soon. Because I want to get out and see, how other cultures are. I've never traveled out of the country. I've lived here, most of my life. I was born in California, but we moved when I was young. So I want to experience the world. I'm ready to experience the world. I've had this opportunity now to do that. And I plan to do that, to experience other cultures. And I don't know if any of you guys watch 90 Day Fiance. I know it's really a crazy show, reality show, and it's scripted, but I like it. And the reason why I like it, besides all of the drama, is because people from different cultures are coming together. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Some of the stories on there are beautiful. It passes me for short. David Word goes on to say, I endeavor to be a presence of peace wherever I go. And I trust others around the world to feel the same. In prayer, I envision people living contentedly and harmoniously. I join my prayer with those of others, holding the same vision. Together, we are creating heaven on earth. That's what it's all about, creating heaven on earth. We learned in Easter during the service of Reverend Dan, that the kingdom of heaven is right here and right now. And we're living in it. Each time we go within and touch that Christ light, that higher self, that spark of the divine, that authentic self, we are bringing heaven on earth for ourselves and for others throughout the world. And the Bible verse says, 1 Samuel 25:6, peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. Amen and amen. In closing, I just want to repeat that from the Blessings of a Church, since I read it earlier, I'm just going to repeat this part of it. May whoever ministers here minister in love. May whoever teaches here teach truth. May whoever serve here serve pleasantly. May everyone come into this house in expectation and go with thanksgiving. And may anyone who needs help go feeling blessed. May this be a place, a house, that Jesus Christ or any stranger, even one of the least, would feel in it that he was with friends. And that's how I feel, and I'm so grateful for this community. Amen. Amen.
Let's just sit for a few minutes in the silence and appreciate this community.
Let's get comfortable in our seats and close our eyes as we prepare for the meditation. Father, Mother God, thank you for this amazing community that we know of as Unity of the Midlands. We thank you for working through all of the staff and volunteers that make this church, this service, amazing. We thank you, Spirit, for every single person that has ever come here. Whether they came back or not, we're thankful for them. Whether they watch us online and can't come here for whatever reason, we're thankful for them. Like Brother Jesus, we choose to see the same Christ light that's within ourselves, within everyone around the world. We ask for peace. We invite peace in and dedicate ourselves to promoting peace in our every experience. May the presence of peace reign in the world. Let the power of peace shine through us. As we move into the silence, let us reflect on these words, on anything in the service that touched you, anything in the music that touched you. Let us reflect on it in the silence. Let us continue to be a house that Jesus Christ or any stranger, even one of the least, would feel in it that he or she was with friends. We're so grateful for this community. For this we give thanks. We let it be so, and so it is. Amen.